As you said, I'm Ian James. I work at the University of Surrey in Guildford, and I'm the innovation advisor for the Sprint program. Now, Sprint is a collaboration of 5 universities in the UK. I'm just going to hide so I can see the slides properly. Yeah, so it's a collaboration of 5 universities. Obviously, Surrey, University of Surrey, where I work. It's actually led by the University of Leicester, and then we also have the University of Southampton, University of Edinburgh, and the Open University together. Now, these are universities with a sort of a substantial space capability, and the aim is to try and bring these capabilities together in order to grow the space sector in the UK. So we work with generally small, medium companies across anybody in the UK. No, that's not quite true. Well, yes, it is quite true, because the University of Edinburgh is a little bit of an exception because the funding, as I'll say in a minute, comes from Research England. But the Scottish Funding Council also provide funding for Scotland as well. So it's a little bit complicated. But in principle, any company in the UK can apply to Sprint for assistance in funding. Now, the nature of the Sprint collaborations is effectively you've got a university here. I've just shown the University of Surrey, but it could be any of the universities in the partnership, collaborating with small, medium companies. That's in a nutshell, that's what we do. Obviously, the university provides the academic expertise, and the company brings their own knowledge and experience. And the aim is to try and grow the company by transferring knowledge from the university into the company, such that they can develop their product, or they can move their product closer to market. I mentioned Research England. That's the program funder, and they provide funding for collaborative projects. Now here you can see that if we had a project between a small company and the University of Surrey, Research England would fund the university's costs. So all of the, whether it's the academic time, whether it's the facilities, or the any purchases or consumables that the university uses, Research England effectively covers that cost. So we discount the cost of the university's activities from the company. Up to 60% of the total project value. Now, this is obviously state funding, so the government doesn't, it gives a certain amount of money, but it's not going to give you everything you need. So there is up to 60% of the project value is funded by the Research England, up to at the moment £50,000 maximum. The remainder has to be matched by the small business. So the 40% match can be a sort of cash match, or purchases, or equipment purchases, but it can also be in kind. So it would be perhaps the company's own employees working on this project, collaborating with the university. That time can be counted as part of the match funding there. And so that's kind of how it works in a nutshell. Each university has one or more business innovation advisors, which is my role. So down in Southampton, there's Francis Clark, Martine from the Open University, Vinay and Stephen actually from the University of Leicester, and Christina up in Edinburgh. So we help the companies find the right academics to work with, and we sort of help with the whole application process. Making a strong application. It's not dissimilar to the KTPs you've been hearing about. It has to be a sort of commercially viable application, not just a sort of a research for its own sake. So you have to show that it's going to actually grow the business and accelerate it towards launch. Eligibility, as I say, any SME registered in the UK is eligible to apply, but they must have R&D capabilities, or at least planning to have some sort of R&D within the next 6 months. They can't just be a sales outlet. 3 categories of company typically, they are already working in the space sector, so making products perhaps to go up into space, satellite related or whatever. Or they can be the space enabled, which means they're using satellite information, say imagery, navigation or telecoms in their business. So they could be a non-space company, but using space sector information data to enhance their business. And we've got quite a lot of companies doing that, actually. I'll show you in a minute. Or it can just be a transfer of space technology into a totally different application. We had one project using sort of plasma technology developed for satellite propulsion, and there was a company that uses plasma for wound care. So some of the research done in university around propulsion was transferred into this sort of health company who were using it to repair skin wounds for people. So quite broad, but there has to be some sort of space link at least. This is the companies that in Surrey projects we've had. These are all completed projects. We've got about 7 other projects sort of in process or in application. And you can see the majority of them actually were in the space sector, which I was actually quite surprised because I felt that we were more space enabled. But what I like about it is that we used a whole range of departments within the university, because we've got the Surrey Space Centre where we've got our academics specifically developing space-related products, research and so on. But we also sort of tapped into mechanical engineering, into the Department of Chemistry. We've got a centre from automotive engineering looking at autonomous cars. That's been now applied to autonomous spacecraft. Our 5G centre is looking at how terrestrial and satellite communications are linked together. We've got also areas where we're looking at environment sustainability, which Richard Murphy, I think I'll speak after me, will discuss, and also environmental engineering, where we're using a lot of, Belen is an expert in looking at water, rivers, moisture, soil moisture. So we've had quite a few projects looking at sort of trying to improve the resilience, say, of crops or Eve Malsis, Richard Britton, who was on earlier, helping them sort of identify sort of where crops are healthy or not healthy, depending on the water content, water presence in the soil. So we've got a nice range of projects. Ultimately, we've got to make a difference, and this is sort of our impact slide on the website, the Sprint website, and you can see we've had about 100 projects altogether across the 5 universities, and it's been job creation. So we do a survey after the project finishes and a bit later to find out how many jobs were created, how many investment deals, any new sales or contracts, and we've had quite a few projects where the company has actually followed on with a follow-up project to really take the next level. So I think success has been shown over what is probably about 3.5 years now, that we're actually sort of boosting the space industry in the UK.